Welcoming Quincy Ward 3 Councillor Ian Kane to our virtual studio here to chat with us about all things in the Kane household and in Ward 3. Hey, Ian, good to see you.
Hey, Joe. Good to see you, too. A little bit different. I guess we're out of your box, but in a different type of box here.
That's exactly right. We're reduced to an 8x10 screen.
We're not alone. It's kind of everyone these days.
Yeah,
but Zoom couldn't be having a better day.
Boy, isn't that the truth? If we'd only know, we could have bought stock before all this happened.
Right.
How are you doing personally? And
good. I'm doing all right. You know, I split my time working from home. So at least when everything first started, my schedule didn't change too much. I think some of my personal activity, especially the launch of Cubic and Quincy Center, we were just about to start welcoming in our first cohort into the startup incubator. And, obviously things changed. And so, that's a little disappointing, but things seem to be sort of on pause generally. And, that's just from my own personal perspective. And that's why I think from, looking at the circumstance, there's kind of two sides, right? There's the side of the COVID and the virus itself and how it's affecting families. And I feel, so terribly for how it's had dramatic effects on people personally and their families. But there's the economic side, which I don't even think we're at the beginning stages of understanding how detrimental, this lockdown has been and will be.
Yeah, you're in really a unique position to look at it both from personal, from a professional, and from an elected standpoint. So you're seeing it impacted in all phases, really, in the city.
Certainly, and it goes to say, I feel so fortunate to be involved on the local level because it's just, and I think we've had this conversation before where, everything that goes on the federal level is just so out of touch, but everyone watches it like sport. And it creates such fervor and animosity and fear. We can go into that a little bit more, but I think on the local level, you're really seeing such strong impacts. You're seeing such an even-keeled manner in which the mayor has been managing this from his office and with his team and the administration. Ruth Jones has been doing an awesome job. Chris Walker's been giving the city councilors updates on a regular basis, and they're always available to talk to us when we have questions. I haven't heard from too many folks. You hear some scuttlebutt, and there's, again, it's kind of this fear because I think that there's so much information out there that people don't know what to believe. And, I think that's why it's very important to be paying attention to what's happening on the local level where you're actually seeing work in action with people who are taking the situation very seriously, but they're not blowing it out of proportion. They're doing everything that they need to. They're working hand in hand with, the state and probably some federal officials, but they're doing a great job. So that's why I appreciate having such a capable local government to be a part of that, is handling this response so appropriately.
I think that's a great point. In journalism, I had this discussion with somebody else. We call it ground truth. And basically what are the boots on the ground seeing and hearing? What's the reality of what's really going on? And you can only get that from a local perspective. So I agree with you. Yeah,
you can. And I think that there's, it's kind of like, if it's not COVID, then it's climate change we're supposed to fear. If it's not climate change, then it's immigration we're supposed to fear. If it's not immigration, then it's terrorism. So there's always something that keeps us at the edge of our seats that is captivating us in fear. And unfortunately that, derives a lot of our reactions to situations sometimes in negative ways. And I think that just that the bar, media has just changed so much over, past few decades where advertising dollars are so important. And, those are coming from corporations which have agendas, et cetera. And I think that, that impacts the way that news is covered and reported largely. And so when now you also have people following each other on social media and everything is anecdotal. And so somebody heard this somewhere and they heard something else somewhere. And so that judges it. But, it's tough. I feel bad for folks who, are affected by that as well, because it drives their psyche during this time when, we're stuck at home.
Mm-hmm. Sure. What are you hearing from the folks in Ward 3 in terms of how they're coping with this? Kids are obviously home for the rest of the year for the school year. A lot of folks like us are working from home. What are some of the kind of the common concerns you're hearing?
I think it depends on the day,
Yeah.
and I think that people have varying degrees of success with their kids at home. I know that that's tough. I think most people aren't used to spending as much time together, whether with their spouses or with their families, with their kids, and so that's also an adjustment. I think kids miss their friends at school and having that interaction, and then I think also it's weather dependent, right? Because you could have a rainy day and that's really going to bring you down because everyone's stuck in the house and you got to figure out what everyone's doing and people are juggling work and they're trying to juggle the kids' schoolwork as well. But on nice days, and thank goodness we're coming into warmer weather. I think nice days are better than the worst days. But I've been doing a lot of walking around the city and even through Milton and Dorchester. I'll take long walks and it's nice to see so many people out. There are a lot of folks who even you don't normally get to see on a regular basis, who are your neighbors or anyone else. And I think in that there's a strong sense of camaraderie and identification, which is nice. I think that that's definitely a positive externality to this circumstance, is that people have a sort of longing for human interaction, whether they had wanted that human interaction before or not.
Yeah.
I'm up on Forbes Hill, and there's and you see in different parts of the city, in different neighborhoods in the city, how people enjoy nice activity, and oftentimes we'll just it's almost like we're stooping, we're putting chairs up front and just waving at people as they walk by and saying hello, which is a nice part of the day. But otherwise, I think this is what is consuming people right now. This whole entire thing, and people are looking, just like I am, for an indicator of what's next, right? I don't know how we're going to be operating next. I mean, there are guidelines coming from many different places on when the economy is going to open up. Who knows when people are going to be able to go back to work, or when childcare is going to open up, or when people feel comfortable riding on public transportation, or when people feel comfortable going to restaurants. But these are all serious things that are going to have an impact going forward.
Absolutely, yeah. What's it been like having these virtual city council meetings? How has that played out in your opinion?
It's been fine. I mean, there's a sense of efficiency with all the Zoom meetings that you're having at home, right? Where you don't have to drive somewhere, and so everything. But yeah, I think they've been efficient. Obviously, the agenda has been it hasn't been as long as usual, and it'll be very interesting to see once we get to budget, which is coming up soon, how this will operate, because we're going to have every city department coming up and presenting their case. But actually, maybe by then in May, we'll be up there. We'll be able to sit in the chamber once again. But they've been fine. I'm used to. I've been doing work from home and Zoom calls and whatnot for at least 6 years plus. So this is no different for my life.
Yeah. Are you concerned at all about the city's finances going forward? Obviously, I mean, for this fiscal year, probably it's okay, but revenues going forward for the next fiscal year are in doubt, right?
Certainly, and we're waiting. There's a resolution that was put forward to have a review, some sort of financial forecast, that we can have a better understanding of what we're projecting out. Because obviously tax receipts are going to be lower. I think, because people aren't going out, we're going to lose out on motel tax receipts. I don't know, how receipts have been for property taxes. I know we'll probably go through another quarter soon, so we'll see about that. But I have a feeling that things are going to be a little tighter, and so it'll be. Yeah, I mean, I'm always concerned about city's finances. You want the city to be in a good position to be able to provide the services that they do pretty strongly. And I know that the mayor doesn't want to. I'm pretty confident that the mayor doesn't want to have to sacrifice any of the services that the city provides. And so I'm sure that we'll be looking at some clever ways to manage that. But we'll see when we get that financial report. But I think in the last city council meeting we were discussing an appropriation, and I think that this is just one of those times when we're going to have to figure out what is essential and what do we need, and versus what do we want and what's nice to have. And I think even on the other side, we're moving at a pretty strong clip with development in the downtown, and I'm cautiously optimistic that some of the developers who have come to the table are going to be in a place to continue that activity downtown. I know that the real estate market across the world is going to be dramatically affected by this, from residential to commercial, especially retail. And so, it's going to be very interesting to see how that affects Quincy. A lot of the new growth in Boston has been driven by either corporations moving here or startups growing, and we're seeing a bloodbath out there. People losing jobs left and right in startups. And so, I think it's going to take a long time to get back up to that place where we were just a month and a half ago, where things seemed, still a little bit rosy. But we've weathered storms before. This isn't, this is life, right? You deal with it in ways that you need to when the situation arises.
Yeah. What are you hearing from the businesses in Ward 3 in terms of what they're facing now and what their concerns are, for the future?
I'm just looking around in my head. I think, we're a largely residential area.
Sure. Yes.
So in Ward 3, so, we still have convenience stores open. Coffee Break, which is in Ward 5, I was just down there. They're still open. Brick and Beam just opened back up for delivery from Wednesday to Sundays, I believe. And so we're not a big commercial district. I mean, we've got the hotel, which is on hiatus, but I'm sure, whenever the time comes, they'll bounce back. We've got Granite Telecom, though, and that whole office park down there. I'm sure they're raring to get people back into work. And I think that the city's trying to figure out how to get back to that place in a safe manner.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, probably a phased-in approach locally, just like they're talking statewide and nationally, too. So waiting for some guidance on that for sure.
Yeah, and it's comfortability, I mean, if all of a sudden people are just, let's go back out there, I think it puts people in a very difficult position personally. And, as I said, there's sort of the realities of what's going on with the virus, and then the sort of fear. And I think that the fear will feed into that a lot.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but it's, the new normal, at least in the short term. We'll see what the long-term effects are. I did want to ask you, you probably have, I'm sure, thought about Porch Fest and what'll be happening this year. Yeah,
I know. Walter and I, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, and we're kind of just, we're holding.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think we've made an announcement yet. And similarly, June is a big month for city events between Flag Day parade and Porch Fest, and I think those would be such positive things to reopen with for the city, because they mean so much to the city now. So we're holding out. We have optimism, but if the reality is that it's not smart, then we'll make that decision.
Yeah, maybe a virtual Porch Fest, Zoom Porch Fest.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. We'll look into that.
Yeah. I know everything is kind of up in the air. The mayor has said even Flag Day is doubtful right now. And I can't imagine a million people on the Esplanade on the 4th of July right now either. But who knows? We just don't know.
No, we have no idea. But I guess the only consolation, as I said, is that the weather is becoming warmer, and there's more time to enjoy outside in different ways. Yes,
that's so true. Yeah. Anything else you want to let the folks in Ward 3 know about in terms of resources that they might need?
Yeah. As always, I always advertise. I send out a quarterly newsletter. I've been sending out some periodic updates as well. So if you're in Ward 3 or if you're in Quincy and you'd like to sign up for those, please send me an email at icain@quincyma.gov. The City of Quincy's website itself has had regular updates, and that's www.quincyma.gov. The Patriot Ledger's also made their COVID-19 updates free on their website, and there's always updates at thequincysun.com. So those are the places that I would heavily suggest relying on for local and accurate information. And we're always here and available. The city's been doing a great job. We've been trying to support them as much as we can. And if you're a resident and have any questions, or if you even just want to chat, feel free to send me an email or give me a call on my city number. I encourage people to really, work hard to stay safe and to stay sane during this time. It's we're really going to be able to weather this if you have a strong mental, tenor.
Yes.
So that we can, and I think as a community, just like everything else, we'll weather this and come through on the other side stronger.
Yeah, I know some of the concerns, especially with seniors, is social isolation. It can be just as deadly as the virus itself.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that goes to say, if there are folks in your neighborhoods that that are senior and they're living by themselves, please don't hesitate to check on them. That's a nice thing to do.
Yeah. Have you heard how the rental assistance programs are going through the chamber and through QCAP?
I think I saw something yesterday. I think about $300,000 was made in rent payments from the Quincy Chamber side,
Okay.
and I think about $180,000 in rents were paid through the QCAP side.
Very good. Yeah. Is there anything that's going to happen, do you think, on the city side to help businesses when things get back up and running?
I think that there is some discussion on making some smaller grant amounts between $5,000 and $10,000 for small businesses.
Okay.
They're still working through the details of that, but we did get a notification about that the other day.
Okay. Is there a rainy day fund that can be tapped for things like this? Do you know, Ian?
No, I think they've been largely using the Quincy Relief Fund that they've been raising money through, but I am probably pretty sure that there are ways when in the position to financially do so that you can maneuver funds to, benefit certain organizations. But
all right, well, stay tuned.
Yeah, we will stay tuned.
Council meeting.
Oh my God, that's a great question, Joe. Hold on, I could tell you right now.
Probably the 4th, maybe May 4th.
Yeah, I want to say it's the first week of May.
Yeah, that would be May 4th. That first Monday, which is the day that all the restrictions are supposed to be lifted, I guess.
Yeah, it's the 4th. Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that's going to be in person or back on Zoom.
Right.
Stay tuned.
All right. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you for having me, Joe. It's great to see you.
Oh, our pleasure. And if we can do anything here at QATV, please reach out. We'll make it happen for you.
I appreciate that. Likewise.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.